Two people each take $100,000 and put it to work. They both pick funds that financial advisors say are safe. They both feel good about their choice. Then 10 years go by. The first person checks their account. Their $100,000 has grown into $345,880. The second person checks theirs. Their $100,000 turned into $313,820. Both did well, both made real money, but one of them made $32,060 more than the other, and that's before we even talk about taxes. Once you factor those in, the gap jumps to over $44,000. That's a lot of money to lose simply because of one choice made 10 years ago. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which fund fits your situation and why picking the wrong one could push your retirement back by an entire year. My name is Richard, and I teach what schools never taught us about money. Today, we're looking at two funds that I get asked about more than almost anything else. They're called VOO and SCHD. Now, if those letters look confusing, don't worry. That's just how the stock market labels them. Think of them like nicknames. VOO is a fund run by a company called Vanguard. It basically buys a tiny piece of 500 of the biggest companies in America all at once. SCHD is a fund run by a company called Schwab. It focuses on companies that pay you regular cash payments called dividends every few months. Both funds have millions of people investing in them. Both get recommended by professionals. Both seem like smart choices on the surface. But here's the thing, most beginners never find out before they invest. One of these funds is designed to grow your money as fast as possible. The other is designed to pay you cash along the way. And if you pick the one that doesn't match where you are in life right now, you could end up with tens of thousands of dollars less than you should have. Let's talk about what actually happens to your money over time. When you invest, the number that really matters is called total return. That just means how much your money grew in total, including everything. Price increases, dividends, all of it combined into one number. So let's look at what happened over the last 10 years with both of these funds. If you put $100,000 into VOO back in 2015, your money grew by about 235% over the next 10 years. Now, 235% sounds like a big number, and it is. Here's what that actually means in plain dollars. Your original $100,000 turned into $345,880. That's $245,880 in pure profit. You didn't do anything except let it sit there and grow. SCHD did well too. If you put the same $100,000 into CHD in 2015, your money grew by about 213%. That turned your $100,000 into $313,820. Still great, still a lot of money. But here's where it gets interesting. Both funds started with the exact same amount of money. Both had the exact same 10 years to grow. But VOO ended up with $32,060 more than SCHD. That might not sound like a huge deal at first, but think about it this way. If you're retired and you plan to spend about $40,000 a year to live comfortably, that $32,060 gap is almost an entire year of your living expenses. That means one fund choice made 10 years ago could have given you an extra year of freedom where you don't have to work. That's the real weight of this decision. So why did VOO come out ahead? It comes down to what VOO actually holds. VOO is what's called an index fund. Think of it like a basket. And that basket holds tiny pieces of 500 of the biggest companies in America all at once. We're talking Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Amazon, Alphabet, Meta, Tesla. Companies across every industry. Technology, healthcare, banking, consumer products, energy. All of it in one single fund. You don't have to pick which company or which industry is going to do well. VOO does that for you automatically by owning all of them. Now here's the key thing about VOO. It doesn't focus on paying you cash along the way. Instead, it focuses on companies that are growing fast. And over the last 10 years, growth companies, especially in technology, have done incredibly well. VOO captured all of that growth because it owned pieces of those companies the entire time. The way VOO works is actually pretty straightforward. When the big companies it owns do well and their value goes up, your investment goes up with them. And if any of those companies happen to pay out small cash payments called dividends, those can get automatically put back into the fund to buy more shares if you turn on that option. But the real engine of VOO's growth isn't dividends, it's the companies themselves getting more valuable over time. Over the last decade, VOO grew at about 14 to 15% per year on average. That steady, consistent growth is what turned $100,000 into $345,880. Let me paint a picture so you can see exactly how this plays out in real life. It's January 2015. You've just put $100,000 into VOO, and now your only job is to do nothing. That's it. Don't trade. Don't try to guess what the market is going to do next, just let it sit. Fast forward to March 2020, COVID hits. The stock market starts dropping fast, and VOO drops 34% in just 1 month. Now, 34% sounds scary. If you had $100,000 in there, your account might show something like $66,000. That's a lot of red on your screen. A lot of people panic at this point. They think, I need to pull my money out before I lose everything. But here's what happens if you just leave it alone. You don't touch it, you don't sell, you just let it sit there. The market comes back. It takes a little while, but it recovers, and then it keeps growing. VOO doesn't just get back to where it was, it goes higher, much higher. Now it's January 2025. 10 years have passed. You finally open your account to check on things and your balance says $345,880. You started with $100,000. You now have $245,880 more than what you put in. You didn't do anything special. You didn't pick the right stocks. You didn't time the market perfectly. You just left your money alone and let it grow on its own. That's the entire strategy. Buy it, hold it, walk away. Let time do the heavy lifting. But here's the thing that trips up a lot of people when it comes to VOO. It doesn't send you any cash along the way. No deposits hitting your account every month or every quarter. No little notification saying, hey, your investment is working, your money is growing in the background, but you can't really feel it happening. And that bothers a lot of investors more than you'd think. People like to see proof that their money is doing something. They like getting a cash deposit every few months because it feels like a reward. It feels like confirmation that they made a smart choice. Without that, some investors start to feel anxious. They wonder if their money is actually working or just sitting there doing nothing. That feeling is completely understandable. But it's also exactly why a lot of people end up switching to SCHD instead. Because SCHD does send you cash every quarter. It gives you that feeling of being paid. And that feeling is powerful. But here's the problem with chasing that feeling. It costs you $32,060 over 10 years. That's the price of needing to see your money working instead of just trusting that it is. So let me be straight with you about what VOO is actually doing and why it works the way it does. VOO isn't designed to pay you cash along the way. It's designed to grow your money as much as possible over a long period of time. Every dollar you put in stays invested. Nothing gets pulled out for dividends or payments. And because nothing leaves, everything compounds. That means your gains start earning their own gains, which then earn their own gains on top of that. It's like a snowball rolling downhill. The longer it rolls, the bigger it gets. And the bigger it gets, the faster it grows. This is how real wealth gets built over time. Not by getting small cash payments every quarter, but by letting your money grow quietly and consistently for years and years without interruption. The only thing standing between you and that outcome is patience. If you can handle not seeing regular deposits and just trust the process, VOO will reward you handsomely over the long run. But if you can't handle that silence, if you need to feel like you're earning money right now, then VOO is going to feel uncomfortable. And that discomfort is usually what leads people to look at SCHD next. Alright, so let's talk about SCHD. Because a lot of investors hear about VOO's performance, and then immediately ask, but what about those dividend payments? What about the cash that SCHD sends you every quarter? That's a fair question. So let's break down exactly what SCHD is doing and what you're actually getting when you invest in it. First, SCHD is not the same thing as VOO. VOO owns pieces of 500 companies that make up the S&P 500. SCHD works completely differently. It owns pieces of 103 companies. But it doesn't just pick any 103 companies randomly. It specifically looks for companies that have a track record of paying their investors cash regularly. And not just paying cash. These are companies that have actually increased how much cash they pay out every single year for at least 10 years in a row. That's a pretty high bar. It means these are well-run, stable businesses that have been rewarding their investors consistently for over a decade. The kinds of companies you'll find inside SCHD are names like AbbVie, which is a big healthcare company, Chevron, which is an energy company, Home Depot, which you've probably shopped at, PepsiCo, which makes Pepsi and a ton of other food and drink brands, Cisco, which is a technology company, and Merck, which is another big healthcare company. These aren't flashy, fast-growing tech startups. These are big, boring, steady businesses that have been around for a long time and consistently make money. Now here's where it gets interesting. The main reason people choose SCHD is because of something called the dividend yield. Dividend yield is just a fancy way of saying how much cash the fund pays you compared to how much you invested. Right now, SCHD's dividend yield is 3.75% per year. So if you invest $100,000 into SCHD, you're going to receive $3,750 in cash over the course of that year. And that cash doesn't come all at once. It gets split into 4 payments, one every quarter, so every 3 months, you'd get $937.50 deposited straight into your account. Real money. Money you can see sitting there, money you can spend or put back into the fund to buy more shares. For a lot of investors, especially beginners, that feels really good. It feels like proof that your money is working for you. But here's what makes SCHD even more attractive than just that initial payment. The companies inside SCHD don't just pay you the same amount every year and call it a day. They actually increase how much they pay you over time. And they've been doing this consistently. Over the last 10 years, the amount of cash SCHD pays out has grown by about 10.77% every single year on average, so your payments don't stay flat. They get bigger as time goes on. Let me show you what that looks like with real numbers so you can picture it. In year 1, your $100,000 earns you $3,750 in cash payments. So, by year 5, because those payments have been growing, you're now collecting around $6,100 per year. And by year 10, you're pulling in close to $9,700 per year. That's nearly $10,000 a year in cash from the same original $100,000 you invested. And here's why that matters so much, especially for people who are getting closer to retirement. The cost of living goes up every year. Groceries cost more. Rent costs more. Everything costs a little bit more than it did the year before. That's called inflation. But SCHD's payments are growing faster than inflation. So your income from this fund is actually keeping up with, and even beating, the rising cost of living. And the best part is your original $100,000 is still sitting there, invested the whole time. You're not touching it. You're not selling anything. You're just collecting bigger and bigger cash payments on top of it, year after year. So SCHD is paying you cash every quarter and growing that cash over time. That sounds pretty great, right? But we need to look at the bigger picture. We need to look at the total return. Remember, total return is the number that actually tells you how much wealth you built. It includes everything, the cash payments and the growth of the fund itself, combined into one final number. Over 10 years, SCHD's total return was about 213%. What does that actually mean in dollars? It means your $100,000 turned into $313,820. That's still really good. That's still a lot of money. You more than tripled your investment. Nobody is saying SCHD is a bad choice. It clearly isn't. But now let's put both numbers side by side so you can see the real difference. VOO turned $100,000 into $345,880. SCHD turned $100,000 into $313,820. The gap between them is $32,060. So here's the question you need to sit with. Was all that quarterly cash from SCHD worth ending up with $32,060 less than VOO after 10 years? Now here's something that a lot of beginner investors don't realize about dividends, and this is really important to understand. Most people think that when a company pays you a dividend, that's extra money being created out of thin air, like a bonus, like free cash on top of what your investment is already worth. But that's not actually how it works. Let me give you a simple example to show you what's really happening. Say you own one share of a company and that share is worth $100. The company decides to pay a $3 dividend, so you receive $3 in cash. Sounds great, right? But here's the catch. The moment that company pays out that $3, the value of your share drops by that exact same amount. So now your share is worth $97 and you have $3 in cash. Add those together. $97 plus $3 equals $100. Your total value didn't change at all. Nothing was created. The company just moved $3 from the value of your share into your pocket. It's like taking $3 out of your own wallet and putting it in your other hand. You didn't make money, you just moved it from one place to another. This is why the only number that truly matters when building wealth is total return. Total return counts everything together, the growth of the share price and the dividends combined. And when you compare total return, VOO comes out ahead of SCHD by $32,060 over 10 years. Before we move on, I want to make something clear. I'm not here to tell you SCHD is a bad fund. It's not. It's actually a really solid investment. Like, the issue isn't that SCHD is bad. The issue is that it's designed for a specific point in your life. Think of it like this. A winter coat is an amazing piece of clothing. But if you're living in Arizona in the middle of July, you don't need a winter coat. It's not the wrong coat. It's just the wrong coat for right now. SCHD works the same way. If you're getting close to retirement or you're already retired, you need money coming in regularly to pay your bills. You need cash flow. You can't just watch your account balance grow on a screen. You need actual money to live on. SCHD is built for exactly that. It sends you cash every quarter like clockwork. VOO doesn't do that. So for someone in retirement, SCHD makes a lot of sense. But if you're 25 or 35 or even 45, and you've got decades before you need to start pulling money out, you don't need that cash right now. What you need is for your money to grow as fast as possible, and that's where VOO comes in. Here's something that confuses a lot of people when they compare these two funds. They look at SCHD and see that 3.75% dividend yield, which is the cash it pays you every year. Then they look at VOO and see that it pays very little cash. So on the surface, it looks like SCHD is doing more for you, but those two numbers are measuring completely different things. SCHD's dividend yield is measuring how much cash it's paying you. VOO's total return is measuring how much your wealth actually grew. Those are two very different goals. If your goal right now is to build as much wealth as possible because retirement is far away, then the only number you should care about is total return, and VOO wins that race. But if your goal is to have steady income coming in because you're about to retire, or you're already retired, then dividend yield matters a lot more. The right answer isn't about which fund is better in general. It's about which fund matches what you actually need right now in your life. So let me put this as plainly as I can. If you don't need money coming in right now, if retirement is still years or even decades away, then your number one priority should be keeping as much money invested and away from taxes as possible. That points you straight to VOO. But if you're retired, or you're about to retire, and you actually need cash coming in to pay your bills and live your life, then SCHD starts to make a lot more sense. The growing dividend payments can help cover your living expenses without you having to sell your investments. In that case, paying some taxes on those dividends is just the cost of having that income. It's worth it because you need it. But if you're still in the wealth building phase and you don't need that income yet, then accepting those tax hits for cash you don't even need is just giving money away for no good reason. What do you guys think about this? Are you choosing Vanguard, or are you choosing Schwab? Or maybe you have something different that you believe in? Let me know in the comments.